Hi, everybody. I'm Len Hinderaker. Welcome back to WOWBIZ Weekly. I have a very special guest today. It's going to be packed with insight that you would have never heard anywhere else. Steve Jordon is one of the primary business reporters in the money section of the Omaha World Herald. He's done a fabulous job for 45 years. And I'll tell you a quick personal story. About 10 years ago, an author named Dan Pink put out a book called Free Agent Nation. Very interesting book about being a temp, about being a subcontractor. Everybody's on your own, personal branding. It was all that kind of stuff. I really thought it was a fabulous, trend-setting book. I called up Steve Jordon down at the World Herald and I said, you don't really know me, but there's this book and I'm going to do a discussion, a little speech about the book, and please come down and give it some consideration. You might want to cover it. It's a trend story, you know. And he was very nice, and he said, okay, I'll come down to Borders Bookstore, and he said, I'll cover the event. Well, despite my best personal efforts, at that time, all I was able to get in the rooms, I had all these chairs set up much like this. I had three people there. It didn't feel like a real successful moment, if you know what I mean. But Steve Jordon came, all right, and he sat there and he listened to the entire discussion. I think he skimmed through the book a little bit, and he actually wrote a story about this trend and the whole free agent notion just a few days later, and I'll never forget that. I appreciate that so much. So please welcome, for 45 years of experience for the Omaha World Herald, Mr. Steve Jordon, ladies and gentlemen, please. Good to see you. Thank you for joining me.
Sure.
It is my pleasure to have you here, sir. You betcha. Well, you have followed and tracked what's going on in Omaha and the business scene. I envy, frankly, the exposure and the experience that you have. Tell me just a little bit briefly about the World Herald's transition and what's going on down there for just a couple minutes, and then we'll talk about some of the key stories that come out of the
we can talk. I mean, the latest thing I guess is in December we were bought by Berkshire Hathaway.
Right.
And
not a bad partner to have.
They're a good partner, and and following that, Berkshire bought another bunch of newspapers. So we've got more or less a chain that stretches into as far as Florida and Texas.
Yeah,
and so
that's
forth.
right. What, like 60 properties?
Something like that.
All
And
right.
we're a lot of weeklies plus dailies, and so they're getting that organized, and it's a change for those newspapers. As far as our newsroom is concerned, not a whole lot of change. I mean, we put out the same kind of product. Our online is still the number one online news segment there.
Omaha.com.
Omaha.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as far as gathering news and presenting it to the public, that's our main job, and that's our job in the newsroom.
And you do an outstanding job of it, Steve. I try to grab your stories and pay special attention to those stories every time I can. Tell me, Omaha and the entire country is going through a very interesting transitional phase. We've been stuck in this kind of recessionary vibe for the last 4 or 5 years. But of course, Omaha has escaped somewhat. We're fairly insulated. But even so, from a psychological point of view, we're kind of trying to rebound and come out of that, and innovation is important. Well, what are the stories, or the people for that matter, that you've met through your vocation that you think are defining or particularly important we should really pay attention to?
The thing that I see is, as far as the change goes, I mean, Omaha has had these long-time businesses, Mutual of Omaha, Conagra that you mentioned,
Sure.
Union Pacific, and so forth. And but I just thought I'd bring along yesterday's paper.
Let's do that, yeah.
They happened to talk about some of the things I was wanting. I mean, we talked about Conagra's earnings, which is a pretty standard thing. Every quarter comes out. This quarter they happen to have great earnings.
And they're going international. They're kind of
international.
focusing that way, right?
But then the paper also has two stories that are kind of illustrate this change that I've seen.
Tell us.
One is about an online outfit called Herdat, and it's a guy in Lincoln, a former Nebraska athlete.
Oh.
And what he does is he matches up famous athletes and celebrities and whatever with companies that want to be promoted by them. And he sets it up so it's a very easy thing, and they'll promote each other by sending out tweets about a product or a service. That sort of
So
thing.
Social media is part of the platform.
They pull the social media in, and this is a guy he's gotten some backing from some entrepreneurial investment groups. He's got a really successful business.
You know who he
going.
reminds me? He looks like Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, Blake Lawrence is his name.
Okay, all right.
And
Keep going.
And the other one is Creamery, which is you'd think an ice cream shop in Dundee, right?
Yeah, beautiful little shop.
But then these two guys.
That's right. That's right.
And that's my experience. You go and have some of their ice cream. They have really different flavors. They have
18% butterfat, by the way.
Right, there you go. Just to keep you going. But these two entrepreneurs they went on to the Shark Tank program, and it's by the time people see this podcast, they'll know whether they got their money or not.
Right.
They went on a Shark Tank to appeal for some more funds to set up a separate freezer production area because their online sales are so big. They've gone into online ice cream sales. How do you do that? You pack it in dry ice. You come up with a special flavor just for each occasion. So it's like a specialty gift sort of thing.
Wow.
And so you got, in both of these cases, there's some entrepreneurial types who are coming along. They're getting some venture capital money into it. And
Yes.
Omaha has always been kind of slow on getting venture capital.
That's
and
right.
I think that's turned around now. There's groups that are really working on it. There's a group called Pipeline that's now active in Omaha.
Really?
Bringing in entrepreneurs. There's a group called the Nebraska Angels that hooks up entrepreneurs or people who want to expand their business with the people who want to invest in new businesses. So
so they're kind of
that's
matchmakers
kind of
or brokers. I wasn't really aware of that.
Yeah, that's kind of a change. And these kinds of young entrepreneurs, like some of these guys in the audience that are going to be out there starting a business or pumping up a business some way, there's a big change for Omaha. It's no longer just the traditional companies.
The guys down at the Rotary Club downtown that have been in there for 25 years.
Right,
or
guys
whatever,
have been there 45 years. Those old,
No, I didn't go there.
Those old people.
No. Now, what role do you? I mean, what do you like to gravitate to these kind of innovation, entrepreneurial stories? Do you have any choice, or does your editor ask you to cover a couple?
I mean, some are assignments from the editor. Some of them, I always figure if I have a better idea for a story, then I get to use my story because my story will be better than the editor's.
All right.
It's a sales deal.
All right. Well, so what's the next step for the World Herald? Is it digital? Is it a bunch of new ideas we haven't exactly seen yet, or is it just simply incrementalizing Omaha.com? What?
I think we're going to keep the print edition. It'll be around for a long time.
Yeah.
We have a great audience there, and I personally, I think it's going to, people are going to start coming back because the thing with the print edition versus online is you'll go through a print edition, you'll see stories that you really wanted to see, but you didn't know they were there.
Yes, you'll stumble across things.
And we compete for people's time that way. And so if you can organize the stuff that people want to see into a usable product that's fast, and it's right there, I think that's good. At the same time, we want to be the number one provider of online stuff too. Wherever people want to find out information, we want them to come from us to get it. And we've got a good online staff that's really working at it. And in fact, these other newspapers that I mentioned, we got our online product is ahead of these other papers. So guys from the World Herald
Really?
are going out to Richmond, Virginia, Winston-Salem, South Carolina, some of the papers that we own.
Sure.
Putting in, upgrading their website so that they can capture their readers.
That's got to make Terry feel good, and Mr. Buffett, that we've got something that we're raising the bar, huh?
Right.
Elevating those standards.
And Mr. Buffett has said that the thing that newspapers need to do is to stop giving their product away free. When it's online, it's free. So the industry is working toward that, trying to figure ways where, if you're willing to pay something to Amazon for a product, you might be willing to pay something to Omaha.com for a product too. And
we got to unlock that conundrum.
Make it part of it.
That's a big deal, isn't it?
It's a big difference, and we'll see how it turns out.
All right. Well, Steve Jordon with the Omaha World Herald has laid it down for us, ladies and gentlemen. He wants more of you and the stories that will come out of your Gen Y generation. Thanks so much for joining us, Steve Jordon from the Omaha World Herald. Read the paper. Read the paper. Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you so much. All right, we'll be right back with WOWBIZ Weekly and our next guest, talking about entrepreneurs. I'm going to introduce you to two entrepreneurs that are thinking big when it comes to staffing and bringing talent into their operation. We'll be right back. Thanks so very much.